Ah, Sebring, in a monumental go big or go home moment, we experienced our first real hurricane, Ian, not long after we moved to Florida. Ian was a monster Category 4 storm, if you don't remember. Some experts said it was actually a Cat 5 when it made landfall on September 28th, 2022. Now, even though I took some heat from a few people who shall remain unnamed, Hurricane John had a solid plan to evacuate inland to Sebring, Florida. We checked into our oddly named hotel, the 7 Sebring Raceway Hotel, with a day or so to spare before Ian made landfall. Not surprisingly, perhaps, the hotel is on the grounds of Sebring International Raceway, which is North America's oldest permanent road racing facility, home of the famous 12 Hours of Sebring. Unfortunately, the only race we saw while we were there was Ian racing our way. Yeah. Now, if you look at Ian's path through Florida, you will see that after making landfall, the storm took a path directly to Sebring. Nice going, Hurricane John. Well, Ian, just before he got to Sebring, he went around. It actually split in two and went around the city. I don't know if this was God's hand or not, but we were absolutely blessed by that turn of events. Yeah, we were blown away. Where was I? Oh yeah, HGTV. Well, HGTV, if you ever watched Hometown Takeover with Ben and Erin Napier, they just seem like the nicest people you'd ever meet. And they have this series where they make improvements on towns across the U.S. One was Sebring. So Lisa and I decided to make a return visit to our favorite raceway hotel. We thought it would be fun to be there when the power was actually on. And then we decided we would head downtown to Sebring to see what Ben and Erin had cooked up while they were doing work there. We this time got a balcony room. Hurricane John should have reserved one of those when Ian came through because the power went out and none of the windows in our room opened, so it was cooking just a little bit. This time, though, they actually put us in a suite, which was kind of cool. Beautiful suite. We had a great view of the track. The parking lot was full of Porsches and Vettes and Hemis, lots of high-performance cars. And they all had what looked like homemade racing digits on them. Most of them, well, maybe not surprisingly, made their way to the track at 9 Saturday morning, which was our sign to head into town, which is just a few miles away from the track. Sebring proper is a small town, only about 12,000 people, but the greater metropolitan area has over 100,000. Downtown Sebring is situated just between Lake Jackson and Dinner Lake, which instantly made me hungry. So we headed to one of the restaurants that was featured on the TV show, Sophie's Cafe. Sophie's downtown location was inside the old Salvation Army building, which had been nicely restored. The Cuban fare was interesting, but it made me kind of wish that we had visited for lunch instead of breakfast. Their egg sandwiches were fine, they were good, but I'm kind of partial to traditional Cuban cooking, and anyway, so I guess we're just going to have to go back for that at some point. After eating, we headed out to the historic Circle Drive. It's really cool, the center of the downtown. It has a cute park in the middle. It was packed that day because, well, not coincidentally, we visited during the famous, well, it's becoming famous, sebringsodafest, which was a pretty good excuse for a bunch of people to gather downtown. There were seriously hundreds of people, a number that was no doubt buoyed by the Hometown Takeover episodes on HGTV. The fest was a fun way to check out really hundreds of different sodas. I think they said they had 200, or pops as we used to call them growing up. Some were familiar and some weren't. I remember Dad's root beer from the old days, but I don't recall Avery's dog drool soda, which was actually pretty tasty. There was even a booth from the Sprecher Brewery from back home in Wisconsin. They make some awesome root beer. You get a little shot glass looking thing, I guess, and you can go from booth to booth to fill the little thing with your sodas of choice. And I don't know, there were probably 100 booths or so representing everything from health foods to insurance agencies, from honey farms to crafts, and a lot of food trucks too, even a couple of bands. We checked out a few of the home and businesses that the Hometown Takeover crew had worked on, and I gotta say, they were pretty impressive. Almost every building in the previously sparsely occupied Circle Park area was open for business, which is a good sign for what used to be a struggling little community. We did not overstay our welcome, but we made a few laps around the circle and enjoyed seeing people having so much fun. There were actually quite a few young people there too, which was a refreshing change from some of the beer tent festivals we've attended in the past. Not that those weren't fun too. So you should mark your calendars for next year's Sebring Soda Fest. I'll link to all this stuff in the description below, of course. If you can't wait, but there's also plenty to do in the area, including hitting the white sand beaches of Lake Jackson. Yep, that's right, white sand. It's not the Gulf of America or anything, but Sebring is a fun weekend trip that is not going to break the bank. So check it out. Thanks for watching. You know what to do. See you soon.